Welcome to Earnings Digest, your go-to podcast for everything stock market related.
Absolutely.
Every week, we dive into the latest market trends,
Right.
highlight key earnings to watch out for, and give you a recap of how the market performed this week. Things are getting really interesting as we head into the final stretch of the year
Yeah.
with a Federal Reserve meeting on December 17th and 18th.
Definitely a lot of anticipation.
Big one.
You know, a lot of people might think, the Fed, interest rates.
Yeah.
Total snooze fest.
Right.
But this meeting could have a huge impact on your investments
Right.
and your personal finances.
Yeah.
It's all about what the Fed signals for the future.
So will they cut rates?
Yeah.
And by how much?
The big question on everyone's mind is whether they'll cut by 25 basis points.
Okay.
You can think of a basis point, like
Yeah.
the tiny increments on your mortgage rate.
Okay.
0.25%.
Got it.
But even small moves by the Fed create ripples throughout the entire economy.
Okay, that makes sense.
So,
But the market has already priced in a 25 basis point cut, right?
exactly.
Like it's a done deal.
Yeah, it's like when a hot new gadget is announced,
Mm-hmm.
the anticipation, the
Yeah.
hype,
Uh-huh.
it's already factored into the price before it even hits the shelves.
Right.
Same thing here.
Yeah.
The market has already adjusted, assuming that rate cut is a done deal.
So what should we be watching for then?
The Fed's hints
Okay.
about future interest rate moves.
Okay.
Will they continue cutting?
Oh.
Will they pause?
Mm.
Their words can send shockwaves through the market.
Okay, so beyond the Fed,
Mm-hmm.
what else is on the radar for the coming week?
Well, the economic calendar is jam-packed. It's
Hot.
like they're trying to squeeze in all the data before everyone heads out for the holidays.
Uh-huh. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So what are the highlights?
Two big ones I'd keep an eye on are Tuesday's retail sales report
Okay.
and Friday's consumer sentiment report.
Those sound familiar.
Yeah.
Remind me why they matter.
Think of it this way.
Yep.
Retail sales tells us how much people are actually spending,
Mm-hmm.
not just what they say they're going to spend.
Right.
Are they buying those holiday gifts or holding back?
Interesting.
This data gives us a pulse on consumer confidence,
Uh-huh.
which drives a huge chunk of the economy.
Right, and consumer sentiment.
Yep.
That's basically how optimistic
Yeah.
or pessimistic people are feeling, right?
Exactly.
About the future in the economy.
It gives you a peek into the minds of consumers.
Right.
Are they feeling good about the economy and their personal finances?
Yeah.
That influences everything from holiday spending
Uh-huh.
to big ticket purchases like cars and homes.
Sure.
So for you,
Yeah.
it can help gauge the overall mood,
Okay.
what that might mean for your investments.
Interesting. So we've got the Fed meeting, key economic data releases.
Right.
And of course, it wouldn't be an Earnings Digest episode without.
Earnings reports.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a few big names on deck next week. That'll give us a good read on different sectors of the economy.
Okay, spill the tea. Who are we watching?
We've got General Mills,
Okay.
which will give us a glimpse into consumer staple spending.
Okay.
Are people still buying their Cheerios, or are they switching to generic brands to save a few bucks?
Good question. Then there's Micron Technology.
Yep.
Which is a bellwether for the tech sector.
Exactly.
That one.
Their earnings will tell us about demand for memory chips,
Oh, okay.
which are used in everything from smartphones to data centers. It's a
Yeah.
good indicator of business investment and overall tech spending.
And then we have Nike.
Uh-huh.
Their earnings will give us insight into consumer discretionary spending
Yeah.
and how their brand is performing globally.
Are people still shelling out for those premium sneakers, or are they tightening their belts?
Right.
Their performance will be a good barometer for the health of the consumer.
Okay. So lots of data to digest next week between the Fed economic reports and earnings.
It's a lot.
What about the overall market sentiment right now?
It's a bit of a mixed bag.
Okay.
There's cautious optimism with hopes for pro-business policies under President Trump.
Yeah.
But there are some shadows lurking,
Okay.
specifically rising bond yields.
I remember we talked about this before.
Yeah.
But can you refresh my memory on why rising bond yields are a cause for concern?
Think of it like this.
Okay.
Bond yields are like the interest rates on loans
Got it.
when they go up.
Yeah.
It means investors are demanding a higher return for lending money,
Okay.
which could indicate they're worried about inflation and future interest rate hikes from the Fed.
Right.
That can put pressure on stocks because investors might shift money from stocks to bonds,
Yeah.
seeking safer returns.
Got it. Higher bond yields.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a good sign.
Not always.
What else should we be paying attention to in terms of market signals?
One thing that's concerning is that market breadth is contracting.
Oh.
Fewer stocks are driving the market higher, which means if sentiment shifts, we could see a sharper correction.
Oh.
It's like a Jenga tower.
Yeah.
If too much weight rests on just a few blocks, the whole thing becomes unstable.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
So fewer stocks carrying the weight of the market.
Right.
Not ideal.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about the big picture stuff.
Right.
The Fed, the economy, market sentiment.
Uh-huh.
But let's get down to brass tacks.
Okay.
What should you, the listener, actually DO with all this information?
Right.
How can you use it to make smarter investment decisions?
That's the million-dollar question. And it's where earnings reports come into play.
Okay.
They give you a chance to see how individual companies are performing, what their leadership is saying about the future, and how they're navigating these choppy economic waters.
Yeah.
It's like getting a sneak peek behind the curtain.
I love that analogy.
Uh-huh.
But sometimes I think, why should I care about Company X's earnings if I don't even own their stock?
Here's why. Earnings reports aren't just about individual companies.
Okay.
They can reveal broader trends within industries and give you a sense of the overall economic landscape. Think of it like puzzle pieces.
Yeah.
Each earnings report helps you assemble a clearer picture of where the market is heading.
Okay, so it's about seeing the bigger picture.
Exactly.
But let's be real.
Yeah.
Sometimes earnings reports can feel like they're written in a secret code.
Right.
What should we be focusing on?
Two things.
Okay.
The actual numbers and the company's commentary.
Okay.
Did they beat earnings expectations?
Okay.
What's their outlook for the next quarter or year?
Okay.
Sometimes the commentary can be even more important than the raw numbers themselves.
That makes sense.
Eh.
It's like listening to the CEO's fireside chat.
Right.
What are they excited about? What keeps them up at night?
Exactly. And remember, you can find transcripts and summaries of these earnings calls online.
Oh, yeah.
It's worth taking the time to dig in, especially for companies you're interested in or industries you're invested in.
Great advice. So we've got General Mills, Micron Technology, and Nike reporting next week.
Yep.
Let's break those down a little further.
Okay.
What key insights could we glean from their reports?
Starting with General Mills.
Oh, yeah.
Think about the products they sell.
Yeah.
Breakfast cereals. Yogurt snacks.
Yep.
These are staples that people buy regardless of the economic climate.
Right.
But if consumers are feeling pinched, they might switch to cheaper brands.
Okay.
And that would show up in General Mills' sales and profits.
Yeah.
So their earnings report could give us clues about consumer spending habits and whether people are trading down to save money.
So it's not just about whether General Mills makes more or less money.
Right.
It's about what those numbers tell us about the consumer landscape as a whole.
Precisely. Now let's move on to Micron Technology.
Okay.
They're in the semiconductor business, which is notoriously cyclical.
Their earnings will be a good indicator of demand for memory chips, which are used in everything, from smartphones and laptops to data centers.
Right.
So if their earnings are strong, it could signal continued growth in the tech sector and business investment.
Got it.
But if they're weak, it could indicate a slowdown in those areas.
Okay, so Micron's earnings can be a barometer for the health of the tech sector and the broader economy.
Exactly.
What about Nike?
Nike is a global brand.
Right.
So their earnings can give us insights into consumer spending patterns worldwide.
Okay.
Are people still willing to splurge on those premium sneakers and athletic wear?
Good question.
Or are they pulling back on discretionary spending?
Yeah.
Plus, Nike's management will likely discuss their supply chain and any impacts from tariffs or trade tensions, which could affect other companies as well.
So Nike's report could offer clues about consumer confidence, global trade, and potential supply chain disruptions.
So we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
The Fed meeting economic data earnings reports.
Yeah.
Market sentiment. It can feel like a lot to keep track of.
It is.
Yeah.
But that's why we're here.
Right.
To help you navigate the complexities of the market and make sense of it all.
Makes sense.
Remember, knowledge is power.
Yes.
Especially when it comes to investing.
Well said. Now, for the part I always get a little bit excited about, let's talk about action steps. We've thrown a lot of information your way, but what can you actually do with it to make smarter investment decisions?
Yeah, it's all about connecting the dots.
Yeah. We've got the Fed meeting, which could shake things up depending on their signals about future interest rate moves.
Right.
We've got economic data like retail sales and consumer sentiment that can give you a read on the overall health of the economy and where it might be heading.
Yeah.
And we've got earnings reports that offer a glimpse into how individual companies are performing and what challenges they might be facing.
Right. It's like putting together a puzzle, right?
Yeah.
Each piece of information helps you see the bigger picture more clearly.
Exactly.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of earnings and the market.
It's been fun.
We'll be back next week with more insights and analysis to help you make sense of it all. Until then, happy investing.